Hey guys, it's Kenneth with the Pen Father. Today I wanted to go ahead and cover the December 1st ink from the Diamine 2021 Inkvent calendar. As you can see, the ink is called Seize the Night. This ink is what Diamine is calling a standard ink, which basically just means that it doesn't have any specific shimmer or shine properties. I will say though, that even though it doesn't have any shimmer or shine properties, it is a very special ink. Today we're going to be inking up a Lamy 2000 in stainless steel, and I'm using a Lamy notebook. This is a little bit of a treated paper that kind of allows the ink to sit on the paper a little bit longer and lets us to really get to see some of the properties of the ink. Now I'm going to go ahead and keep this in at least 2 times speed so that you guys don't have to sit here and watch me painfully write all this out by hand. But basically the impression that I'm trying to give you is that this paper is nice and smooth, and it's going to really help us to see some of the quality of the ink. I'm also going to do a couple of different types of tests on this paper with the pen, just to kind of see what we get as far as results are concerned. What I'm going to start with here is I'm going to start with just a couple of line tests and stuff like that, just to see what the ink looks like at different writing speeds and in different concentrations on the paper, and with different line widths and just the way that the pens write. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try and do what I call kind of like an ink dry test. And so the first one I did was about 5 seconds. And you see there was no smearing there. And then I did a 2-second one, and that 2-second one barely had any smear at all. So this is a pretty quick drying ink because, like I said, this is a treated paper. So it should have allowed that ink to sit on top for a fairly good amount of time. So what I would say is that this ink would probably feather a little bit on a thicker paper as a result of that. Next, let's go ahead and let's talk about this beautiful color. So it's kind of a unique color. I guess the best way that I would know how to describe it, and I'm not really sure how the cameras are letting this look on your screen, but the best way I know how to describe this would be kind of like a purpley, maroony, red, gray color. In certain lights, it certainly looks very gray, but in other lights, it looks almost maroon, and yet in other lights, it has kind of like a nice purpley hue to it. So I actually think they named it very aptly when they called it Seize the Night. Next, we're going to do kind of like a little quick water test. So I'm going to put a little bit of ink down, then I'm going to put a drop of water on my finger, rub it across to see whether or not this ink is bulletproof or not. And it turns out it's not. You guys will have to forgive my cloth that had a little bit of other ink on it, so got a little bit on my thing. So I'm just going to jot down that this was not a bulletproof ink. And then we're going to move on to our next test, which is really the Q-tip test, which kind of gives us a little bit of a look at it at a very high saturation rate. So first of all, we'll open it up, and then we'll take a little Q-tip, and we will go ahead and make a swipe on the page. I'll let that dry for a second, and then I'm going to go back over it in at least a little bit of it so that I can kind of see what this looks like, how it shades, which it does shade beautifully. And it really doesn't go through the page too much, which is actually a pretty good sign on this paper and the ink. I really love them both. Finally, I will go ahead and add what pen this is so that I have that in the future, and then you guys get to see the ink in its final form. Thanks for hanging out with me. This is Kenneth with the Pen Father. Again, if you like this video, smash that like and follow.